Hello, everyone. It is Ed from Cloud. I just wanted to pop in today, and well, we're going to continue down our rabbit hole of religion. And this one's going to be kind of why you're either a Gentile, a pagan, or an infidel. Everyone is. Doesn't matter what religion you are one of these three. I'll tell you why here. If you are of the Christian faith, Catholic, Protestant, any Christian faith, then your term for anyone who is not of the Christian faith, and that would be whether they're Islamic, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, any of the other faiths, then they would be of a pagan religion. Because according to the Christians, now if you go and you look, it's very hard to find the old definitions of this, but basically what I was taught being brought up and what it used to be is anything that wasn't of the Christian faith was pagan. Now it's become more the term for anything that's of the natural faith, like if you're a Wiccan or a Druid or something like that, then you're pagan. But it was anything that was not of the belief of Christ being our Savior and God and Mother Mary and all that. If you didn't believe all that, you were a pagan. And they would kill you for it. They would wipe out entire territories of it. This is why when we had the Crusades way back, in medieval times with the Knights of the Round Table, well, no, actually, that was before it. It was I can't remember the name of the Knights at the moment. But anyway, you know who I'm talking about. The Knights Templar and that. They all went into the Muslim territories, and they were killing off the Muslims because they were pagan and they were evil and they were worshiping the devil. Now, we know now all this is bullshit. They don't worship the devil. Their beliefs are different than ours. But the main three all believe in one God. We just believe that the Messiahs were different. The Christians believe that Christ was the Messiah. The Jewish believe that the Messiah is not returned yet. And the Muslims believe, what's his name? I'm sorry, the Muslims is probably the one I've studied the least. It's like Muhammad, I believe, was the Messiah. But the difference is that if you're anything but Christian, according to the Christians, you're pagan. According to the Jews, and the Jews have been around a lot longer than the Christians. In fact, Christ himself started out as a Jew, and he was pissed off at the Jewish community because of their corruptness during the story where he goes into the temple and the money changers and everybody are in there, and he starts flipping over the tables, getting mad. Another one of those proofs that the Christian religion doesn't like to look at, of saying, well, Christ was perfect. No, he wasn't. He had an anger, temper. He went in and he did stuff that was not pure and perfect. But we want to forget these things. We want to continue to just pretend that everything is just the way the church tells you, not the fact that even the church tells you these stories. But then they tell you, oh, no, Christ was perfect. But let's get back to the Jewish faith. If you are of the Jewish faith, anyone that is not of the Jewish faith is called an infidel. And an infidel pretty much means the same thing, that you're a Satan worshiper, you're not worth it, you're an animal, nothing more. And then if you move into the Muslim tradition, you would be called an infidel, which is pretty much the same thing. It's saying that you're not worth anything because you don't believe their beliefs, so you're no better than an animal. You're just, an evil, demon worshiping individual. Let's actually go and read these actual definitions, because I was decided that, if I was going to do a video today, might as well get some actual definitions. So let's first go with, when did the Catholic Bible actually become written? Because I talked about this in my last video, and I couldn't remember the exact date, but I did find it now. And it says the Catholic Church finally agreed on which writings, in other words, they picked and choose which writings should go into the Bible at the Council of Rome in 382 AD. That's 382 years after Christ died, that the Council of Rome decided, well, let's take all his teachings, pick the ones we want, because they're the ones that tell the story we want. Let's cram them together and create the story we want, such as Mary Magdalene's a prostitute, which she wasn't. They're two different women. I've already said that in another video. And if you go and do the research, find the original writings and everything else, it's true. It's fact. It's not what the church would like you to believe, but that's what the facts are. So there's your Christian startup right there, 382 years after Christ died, telling you that they're the true teachings of Christ because they're the ones Christ gave you. Christ gave us a whole lot more teachings. There was a whole lot of teachings prior to that, most of them which come from the Old Testament, which comes from the Jewish religion, and we incorporate it into the Christian religion. So what does it say a pagan is according to Christian belief? Modern, like I said, it's kind of changed over the years. It's hard to find some of these. And most of the time you're going to come up with, oh, it's just somebody who has earth beliefs. Well, it's been a lot darker than that in our past. But current accepted is one of a people or community observing the polytheistic, that's it, religion as the ancient Romans or Greeks, a member of a religious, spiritual, or cultural community based on the worship of nature or the earth, or neo-pagan. Disparaging and offensive. In historical context, a person who is not a Christian, an irreligious or hedonistic person, an uncivilized or unenlightened person. In other words, everyone has some of these traits, because if you're not Christian, well, then you're a pagan. Now, modern times, they want to say, well, if you're not one of the main three religions. But again, remember, let's go back to, during the, Crusades, when Europe was invading, the Muslims and all that, calling them animals and heathens. And they were trying to wipe them off the planet of the earth because they were pagan. Well, now, because of modern society, we don't consider them in the pagan group. But if you go back historically, the Jews, the Hindus, the Buddhists, everyone that wasn't Christian was a pagan. Same goes on. We're going to continue now to the Jewish people. Now, the Jewish people, their religion is a lot older than the Christian religion. Their story starts earlier. So a lot of the Jewish people say, well, see, our religion is correct. You based yours off of ours. Christ was not the real Messiah. And you know what? Everybody's going to believe what they're going to believe. I'm just pointing out some stuff here. So if we go to the definition of a Gentile, it is pertaining to non-Jewish people, especially Christians. A person who is not Jewish, I cannot say that word, a pagan or a heathen, Mormon, church, or a non-Mormon, yeah, pretty much, denoting an I don't know, proper noun, but you get the point. It's if you're not a Christian, or if you're not a Jewish, you're either pagan, heathen, or definitely an infidel. And that's because they do believe a lot of the same things as the Christians. So, but they consider the Christians inferior. Or I'm not Christian. I was raised Catholic, but I consider myself spiritual. But I'd be a pagan and infidel and all that other stuff as well, because I don't believe their religions are the one religion and that their God is any better than any other God. In fact, anybody that says that God, like I said in my previous video, is able to come down here and talk to you one-on-one, well, not going to work that way, because you're part of God, I'm part of God. And in order to come to this 3D reality, God would have to take only a small part of himself to become that, which means you're not talking directly to God, you're talking through another part of God to God. Just like if you were talking to me or a priest or a rabbi or anyone else, if he has the spiritual connection, which we all have, to be able to communicate with God, then you can communicate directly with God. It says in the Bible, it says in almost all of them, all you have to do is talk directly to him. So that moving aside, we'll go to infidel, because that's what we would be considered if you're not of the Islamic faith. And that is often offensive, an unbeliever with respect to a particular religion, especially Christianity or Islam. In other words, they all want to, kind of currently try and be in bed with each other, but historically they haven't. Historically, the top three religions tried wiping each other out, saying that theirs was the only one, and that the Muslims still consider most Christians infidels. But if you look at the modern, they're trying to blend all the Jewish, Christians, and Muslims into one group. And if that's the case, why do they hate each other? Why do Jewish people hate Christian people and Muslim people? And it's not, I don't use the term hate lightly. When I was going to high school, I wanted to date a Jewish girl, and her parents forbade it because I was considered nothing more than a walking piece of animal, leftover that wasn't worth being able to date their daughter because I was not of their faith. So they like to pretend nowadays, especially with this whole political correctness bullshit they've been pushing, that, oh, we're a lot closer with the Muslims and the Christians and the Jewish people. No, we're not. They still don't like us. We still don't like them. And then everybody's bitching about everything. They use the term infidel and Gentile and pagan so fluidly and flippant now that most people, oh, that's just, Well, believe it or not, if a Jewish person walks up to you and says you're a Gentile, they're insulting you. It's an insult. Look it up. Talk to an old Jewish person that isn't afraid to be honest with you and ask them what it means, and they'll tell you that you're an animal. You're below them. You are not worthy of it. And if you convert to Judaism from another religion, although you're converted, you still do not have the same respect from the church because you're still an infidel. You're still a Gentile, sorry. You're not fully accepted. You're better than most people, but you're still not quite there. So everybody who's of any religion is one of these things. And if you have no religion, you're probably all of them. And everybody wants to sit there and pretend that their religion is better than the other religion. And, well, I can kill you in the name of my God. Well, this is where the problems of today come from. Everybody's using their religion or their beliefs to go after other people. It's moved so far that it's now the gay and lesbian and bisexual community, BLGT community, the black community. All these communities are like, well, if you don't believe in my beliefs, then you're evil and you're trying to oppress me, when actually you're trying to oppress me by shoving your ideals and beliefs in my face, down my throat. And if I don't accept you and praise you for it, then I'm wrong. I don't give a crap what you do in your own bedroom. If you want to go suck off your man and you're a dude and you want to change your male parts into female parts because that's what makes you happy, that's fine. I don't care. What you do to your body is up to you. What you do in the privacy of your own room and your house is up to you. As long as you're not taking somebody else's will by trying to shove your ideals down their throat or manipulate them into doing something that they don't want to do or whatever, I don't care what you do. I'm of the belief set that as long as what you're doing doesn't cause harm to anyone else in any way, you're an adult, make your own choices. You want to go out, this is kind of off the deep end of it, and shoot up with heroin and die, that's on you, not on me. Now, if I sold you those drugs, well, then I'm partly responsible for that. If I went out, got you the needle, I'm responsible for that. If I went out and I got you the house to go and sit in the corner and shoot up and you die, I'm partially responsible for that. But if I don't do any of that and you're shooting up on your own, you're an adult, you know what you're doing, you take those risks. Same thing with any religion or any other belief structure. You are an adult, you're old enough to make your own decisions. Discern what you listen to. Listen to your heart. Tell what your heart tells you. Is this right? Is this wrong? Your heart generally knows. Most people ignore their heart. Most people don't even know how to hear their heart. So it's up to you guys what you want to believe, what you want to move forward with. All I'm asking is for all these people who are religious, you're a devout Jew or a devout Christian or a Muslim or whatever the case may be, that you stop and you think, if your God is all loving and all knowing and all powerful, why is he telling you to hate anyone if he's all loving? If he's all knowing, well, he already knows you're full of mistakes, so he ain't going to judge us on those. Right? So maybe we should look at our belief structures and where we put these religious leaders and everything else up on this pedestal of, well, they're the ones that interpret the voice of God. Not a single one of them has heard the voice of God. Have you heard the voice of God? Has God come down to you, stood in front of you and said, whoever your name is, for me, Ed, hey, Ed, this is the true religion. This is the proof of it. Look, I am standing here in front of you. You can put your hand through me. I am everything. I can heal you. I can make you young again. I have all these powers. This is the truth. None of us have ever had any of that happen. Ever. And if it did, I'd still have to question it because, like I said, for me, my God is the conscious energy of everything. In other words, if my God was to come here in his entire glory and form, the only way for that to happen would be for the universe to literally blink out, because I am part of him. This table is part of him. This vape is part of him. All of it's part of him. So in order for him to come here personally would be impossible, because he is everything. He is already here. He is around you and everything you see and do every day. So, you might want to start questioning your spiritual teachers, asking them, if God is in the Bible telling me that he's love and forgiveness and everything else, why do we go after these other people who believe in being good, believe in being happy, just trying to live and be peaceful, and condemn them because they don't believe in the name of my God, or they don't believe that this was the Messiah? Who's to say that there was only one Messiah? Who's to say there was only one great teacher? Buddha was a great teacher, and he was one of the messiahs. Christ was a great teacher. He was a messiah. Just because it has a different name behind it from the religion it comes to does not mean that these great teachers haven't come to us many times trying to tell us. Even Christ said it. Whoever is without sin cast the first stone. Not a single one of us, including Christ, like I said, with the parable of him going into the temple and flipping tables and condemning them for selling on his father's temple. That was a foul. That was a false. That was a mistake. He shouldn't have done that. If he was truly loving and caring, he should have explained it to them. He lost his temper. He was human, just like everybody else. We're all part of God. We are all connected with God. We all have the ability, just like Christ said, just like Buddha said, to live that life to where we can heal others and heal. And we want water. There it is. We want to turn this into wine. Oh, it's wine. Those powers are available not just to Christ, not just to Buddha, not just to any of these other great teachers. They're available to us. They were trying to teach us. We're the ones in control. We are connected directly to the source of all this. With understanding and acceptance and everything else, we're able to move to those understandings. So join me, because I ain't there yet. I ain't Christ. I ain't Buddha. I ain't any of these. I'm just a regular man trying to find the path. So join me on finding that path, and let's see if we can get to the bottom of the truth of this. Hopefully everybody out there had a great Halloween. Yeah, it's a pagan religion. It's the celebrating of the fall equinox. But let's turn it into something evil just because it's not part of our religion. Hope everyone had a great holiday. See you next time.